Welcome to Integrity Linguistics Institute. Right. So what's the purpose type question? Purpose type question basically means an action is done. That is, one action is done in one particular manner, and they're asking you why it is done. What is the purpose? Right? Why is this action done like this? What is the goal? What is the intention? Right? So how should your brain think? Your brain should think, why is this done? Why is this action like this? What is the intention? So there is an action over here, right? It's a workplace action. So what is the intention of this action? Why is this action done? That is what the question is asking you to find out. Right. So this is a purpose-based question. Now see, what is the question over here? As explained in the protocol, the position of the RUM container will ideally, right? So over here, there is a container, okay? Container basically means a vessel where you put certain things. RUM container over here, right? So they're asking you, okay, this particular container has a specific position, right? So what is the purpose of keeping the RUM container in that particular position? Right. So here the question. So here this is the question stem. What is okay? Why? Okay. Why the RUM container needs to be kept in a particular position? This is what the question is indirectly asking. That is, they're asking you, what is the purpose? What's the purpose? So, ideally, there is an ideally basically means what? Ideally basically means perfect, right? So there is a perfect situation, right? So so that is the intention over here. That is the intention over here. So they're asking you why the RUM container needs to be kept. So they're asking you the purpose. So let's understand the question once again. As explained in the protocol, the position of the RUM container will ideally. So this is the purpose. Purpose is encourage participation in the scheme. Purpose, emphasize the value of recycling. Purpose, facilitate public access to it. Right? So these are the possible purposes. As you can see, it could be anyone. It could be anyone over here. So this is the purpose of the position of the RUM container. So see, this is how your brain should work. If your brain is not able to work like this, then the OET can be very, very tricky. Right. So from these three things, you have to find what the correct answer option is. Right. So let's take a look into the first one, the answer option A over here. So what is answer option A? Encourage participation in the scheme, right? So there is one scheme, okay? There is one scheme or there is one initiative, right? There is an initiative and they want maximum number of people to participate. So they are encouraging, okay? They want, so the purpose of keeping the RUM container over here is to encourage participation in the scheme. That is the purpose number one. What is purpose number two? Emphasize the value of recycling, right? So recycling is a very, very valuable thing. So they want to give more importance. Emphasize basically means what? Giving importance. So keeping the RUM container like this, what is the purpose? The purpose is to emphasize. Emphasize is the purpose is to bring awareness about the importance of recycling. Right. What is answer option C? Facilitate. Facilities. Okay. So if you go to an airport, you will get a lot of facilities. Right. If you're going to an airport in a very good country, there will be a lot of facilities. But if you're going to an airport in a very small country, there will not be any facilities. Right. Facilities. Facilitate. Right. So that is what is the meaning. So that is to help. Okay. Facilitate basically means what? To help. Okay. So what's the purpose over here? To help public access to it. Now, what is it over here? Can anyone tell me what is the word it over here? What is it referring to? Facilitate public access to it. What is it referring to? Yeah, it is referring to the RUM container, right? So the container, not RUM, right? It is referring to the RUM container. That is what it is referring to, right? So here it is referring to this RUM container, right? So this is the thing, right? So you have to like make the connection to that, right? So now let's take a look into the paragraph over here. So what have we done? We have basically comprehended the question. So comprehension is done, right? We have understood the questions. We have done the keyword analysis and all. Now you have to retain the memory to your memory. That is step number 2, retention. And now you have to go and detect the answer. So before that, let's do the verb analysis, right? So why is the verb analysis very, very important? To bring in your elimination strategy, right? So what is the verbs? What are the verbs that you see in answer option A, B, and C? So the position of the container will ideally A, encourage participation in the scheme. So what is the action over here? Encouraging participation, right? So this is what it will do. So it will ID. So this is the purpose, right? What's the purpose over here? The purpose over here is to encourage participation in the scheme. Now, what is the action in answer option B? Emphasize the value of recycling. Right. So we have multiple verbs over here. So recycling is a verb over here. Emphasize is emphasizing, that is giving more importance, right? So here, this verb is more critical to the question, right? So this is the verb that you're waiting for, emphasizing the value. So what is the action over here? The action over here is emphasizing the value of recycling, right? So this is the verb analysis of answer option B. What is the verb in answer option D? Facilitate, right? Facilitate basically means what? To help. Okay, the more facilities you have, the more help you have. The less facilities you have, the less help you have. Right? Facilitate basically means to help people, right? So this is what it is. This is the purpose over here, to facilitate. So encouraging participation, emphasizing the value of recycling, and helping public access to it. Okay, access. People are getting easy access. That is, easily they can access the RUM container. Right. So now let's come to the paragraph over here. Right. Unwanted medicine. Unwanted basically means what? No one is interested to take that medicine. Pharmacy collection protocol. So from where will we get medicines? We get medicines from a pharmacy, right? So what happens if we purchase some medicines, but we don't want to use those medicines? So we can give it back to the pharmacy, right? Pharmacy will collect the medications, right? So this is what RUM stands for. Returned unwanted medicines. So these medicines have been returned back to the pharmacy because they are not wanted by the consumer. Right. So this is a project. Okay. The RUM. Okay. Returned unwanted medicine is a project. And there is a container, project approved container will be delivered by the wholesaler to the participating pharmacy. The wholesaler basically means what? The person who distributes the medication to the pharmacy. So the wholesaler will give medications. The same time, they will give them a container as well. They'll give an RUM container. So this is a project over here. Okay, this is a new project. All right, so let's see. Again, our duty, what's the question stem over here? Our question stem over here is to understand the purpose of this container. So here they have told that there is a container, but our duty is to find what is the purpose. Okay, purpose of keeping this container in a particular position, right? Position of purpose of this purpose of keeping this particular container in a particular position. That is what we need to identify. That's the question stem. So let's read the second question over here, second paragraph over here. The container is to be kept in a section of the dispensary or in a room or enclosure in a pharmacy in which the public does not have access. Now you see over here, what is the meaning of is to be kept? What is the is to be kept? To be kept basically means what? Position, right? So for example, cupboard. So for, what is the, so for example, all of you have photographs. You have photographs in your hospital, in your home, right? So usually what's the position of the photographs? you will keep the photographs on the wall frame, right? You'll frame the photographs, you'll keep it on the wall, right? And you have plates. So what is the position of the plates inside the kitchen? What is the position of fruits and vegetables inside the refrigerator? Okay, so you see, this is how they use synonyms. Position basically means where you need to keep this particular container. So this is how you have to make the connection. The position basically means where the container needs to be kept, right? So I hope that is clear. So now let's read the second paragraph. Now what's the second paragraph telling? The container is to be kept in a section of the dispensary. Dispensary means where medications are dispensed, okay, or in a room or enclosure. Enclosure basically means what? A room where it is closed. That means, there is a boundary. Enclosure basically means there's a strict boundary. It is not open. Okay. That's what we call as an enclosure. It means a room or an enclosure where there's a boundary inside the pharmacy in which the public does not have access. So see what is the telling over here? They are telling we should keep we should keep this container in a position, okay, where the public does not have access. Okay, this is the position over here, only in that position. So for example, when you're walking to the pharmacy, you can easily access the bench, okay, where bench where they dispose the medications. But can you go inside the pharmacy, the topmost shelf? No, you don't have access there, right? So here they're telling the container needs to be kept in a place where they don't have access. Now what is answer option C? Answer option C is facilitate public help access, which means what? Help, which basically means help public to have easy access, right? So this is the meaning of answer option C. So can we choose answer option C? No, right? It is exactly the opposite over here. It is exactly the opposite of what is mentioned over here. So as soon as you read this question, you must be able to eliminate answer option C, right? So now you are left with either A option or B option. This is how important elimination strategies. Now see, now you have 50-50 chance. Right. Now let's keep reading the path. So now you have eliminated C option. Now it is either A or it is either B. Now they're telling the container may be placed. May be placed basically means what? Once again, the position, right? So here also they're talking about the same thing. To be kept, to be placed, okay? Position, right? In a visible position. See, this is where it needs to be visible. Visible basically means what? They have to see. So anyone who is entering the pharmacy, they must be able to see. They must be able to see it, but they must not have access to it. Okay, they must be able to see where it is, but they must not have access to it, right? But out of reach of the public. See, out of reach. So we can say that C answer option is definitely eliminated, out of reach. They have emphasized multiple times, as this will reinforce the message that unwanted prescription drugs can be returned to the pharmacy and that returned medicines will not be recycled. Right. Now, here, what are they telling over here? Now, see, why? See, purpose as over here is basically why, right? Once again, right? So here, the purpose over here, that is what we need to find out. Now, see, you see this this small word over here. What's the small word over here? As, right? See, as. So here, there is a reason. Okay, so what is the reason? So why is this policy saying that you have to keep it visible, that you have to keep it in a visible, but out of reach of public? So when you come across this word over here, now they're trying to explain. Now that it is explaining the reason why it should be visible and out of reach. Right? So now this word, so when you come across this word as, okay, so another thing, so just like that, we have other words like because, okay, as, okay, hence, therefore, okay. So when you come across these type of words, then you can understand that they are explaining the reason. So this is a purpose type question. So these type of words is giving you a clue. It's giving you a clue. Okay, now the explanation is coming. They are giving the reason why this action is done like this. Okay, so let's understand what is the reason why they are telling it should be visible but out of reach of the public, right? Because they want to reinforce the message. Reinforce means to emphasize. Okay, so it is basically the same thing. Okay, emphasize and reinforce are basically the same words. Okay, as this will reinforce the message over here. That is the one message over here, and that message is emphasized. Okay, that unwanted prescription drugs. Okay, so drugs that are unwanted, they can be returned to the pharmacy. Okay, so this is the message over here. They can be returned to the pharmacy, and those medicines that we return to the pharmacy, that the returned medicines will not be recycled, right? So people, you say, for example, when you have plastic bottles, okay, when you have aluminiums, okay, when it is no longer wanted, so when you don't want plastic in your house, when you don't want aluminum, when you don't want broken steels and all, what you will do, you will give it to people, right? Because you know that they are going to recycle it, and they will make a new medication from it. They'll recycle the old medications, right? That is expired medications, that is the things that is expired. I mean, old plastic, old aluminum, what they will do, they will recycle it, and they will make new products. Now, that is okay. The recycling plastic and recycling those type of materials, okay. But what about expired medications? Okay. See, imagine that there is a medication that becomes expired. So expired basically means it is poisonous, right? Medicines, if it goes past the expiry date, it becomes a poison. Okay. What about, contaminated medications? Contaminated medications, those are also poisons, right? These are also poisons over here. So when it comes to pharmaceutical products, if it is unwanted, if it is if it is usually these type of medications are what we call as contaminated. So let me ask you a question. Okay, will you go to a pharmacy and will you buy a recycled drug? Will you buy a recycled? Will you say you will be very happy to purchase a recycled plastic product? You'll be very happy to purchase a recycled aluminum product. But will you be happy to purchase a recycled drug? Because it could be dangerous, right? These drugs could be expired. These drugs could be contaminated. So they are basically poisonous. So if a person is recycling poison, then they are taking poison, right? So recycled drugs are dangerous. Right. Now over here, they want, okay, so what will people do? Okay, people will usually throw away. Okay, people will usually throw away unwanted medications. Okay, they will usually throw away unwanted medications, but that is dangerous also. Throwing away, unwanted medications, that is also dangerous. Okay, so here they want, okay, so the people, okay, the government and the people, they don't want people to throw away medications, but at the same time, they want to give the message. They want to give the message to people that we will not recycle them. Okay, that we will not recycle them. So that is the reason why. So they want to reinforce the message. They want to reinforce the message that unwanted medications can be safely returned. Okay, the message is this. So if you have a medication that is unwanted, if you have a medication that is expired, you have a medication that you're not using, you can safely return to us, and those medicines will not be recycled. Right. And those medications will not be recycled. So this is the message that they're trying to give to everyone. So what will happen? So if you're confident, okay, I can return a medicine, and even if I return it, they are not going to recycle it. So what will you do? Okay, now you will say it is safe to return, right? And if it is safe to return, what it is doing, it is encouraging you to return, right? It is encouraging you to return these medications, right? It is encouraging you to return. So see, this is the message that they're trying to convey. So if you go to a pharmacy, and if you can see an RUM container, but you can see it, but if you cannot access it, okay, somehow they believe, okay, if they see an empty container, okay, that means I can return medications over here. And even if I return it, I know that it will not be recycled. Okay, so if you have that information, then you will be very happy to return medications. And at the same time, you know, since they're not going to recycle it, you can safely purchase medications from them. So here, this is the reason why. Okay, this is the reason why they are telling. So encouraging participation in the scheme. So this is the purpose. So remember the question over here. What's the question stem? The purpose of the position. So people, when they see a container very visible, but out of reach, then somehow it is going to encourage participation in returning the unwanted medications. Right. So again, see, so much of depth is required, so much of depth, so much of clarity is required to understand. So this is how OET has been designed, right? So superficial reading is not going to help. So, and other now they're talking about other things. Needles, other sharps, containers, cytotoxic products should not be placed in the container, but in one specifically designed for such way. So now they're telling needles and other products and all, we have other containers designed for this. So this entire information. Now, this entire information over here is a distractor, right? This entire information over here is a distractor, which means it is not giving us any useful information. So this information you can avoid, because this information they're talking about needles and all these kind of things. So that is completely useless to us, right? So now you see answer option A is the right answer. Harmful, not used. Yeah. Right. So again, so now see, choosing the correct answer option A is slightly tough. Okay. Okay. So the reason, okay, that's why I told you, if it is, some questions will be tough. It may look very easy, but it may be extremely challenging. But even if it is challenging, what you can do is you can bring in your elimination strategy. Right. So what is the verb over here? Okay. The position of the container will, the purpose is to encourage participation. Right. So that is the, okay, that is the thing over here. Now, see, this is the encouraging participation means reinforce the message. Okay, reinforce the message that it can be returned. Now, see, drugs can be returned to the pharmacy, and that's the thing. So, this is what they're trying to do. They want people to participate in this scheme. It's very tough to understand. So, answer option A, that is this thing over here. So, we can say A is indeed the right answer. So, we can suspect that A is the right answer over here. But anyway, let's come to answer option B, right? What is the verb over here? Emphasize the value of recycling, right? So see, emphasize the value. Can we choose it? No, right? Because here they're telling drugs should not be drugs should never be recycled, right? Here, see, what is the information over here? It will not be recycled, not be, which means the exact opposite. The exact opposite is mentioned. So in that case, we can never choose answer option B. B is very, very easy to eliminate. It is exactly the opposite. Now, what about answer option C? Facilitate public access. But what is mentioned over here? Out of reach of the public. Do not have access. Now, you see, for these two reasons, we can eliminate answer option C. So if you eliminate B and if you eliminate C, then that means what? Answer option A is the correct answer. So A is indeed the right answer option over here, right? So this is how you have to do the OET reading. See?